here is the SPLICE app. And in the SPLICE app, I put together a collection of some samples that I went through earlier that I'm going to use to make this track. Now, a lot of times when I'm making a new track, I like to start off with a breakbeat. So I found this breakbeat, thought it was cool. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to drag and drop that into my Ableton session. It automatically goes to the tempo of the song that I had already chosen. And I chose 99 here, which is a little faster than the 87 BPM that the breakbeat was at, but I thought that it needed to be sped up. And that feels good. It's got a nice bounce to it. Breakbeats are great because they bring so much character to your track instantly. The one thing I don't want is these cowbells that are happening in here. And so I hear it right there, and there, and there. So just muted those instantly. And take a quick listen. So I can use this kick to replace some of those spaces. Let's hear that. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm just going to worry about this first 4 measures here. And I still have these blank spaces, which I'm going to go ahead and let's hear this. Yeah, I'm just going to use this little bit of space here to fill them in. And in this space, there's sound still coming from the breakbeat. It's like the sound of the hi-hat and the ghost notes on the snare and the record scratch that you can hear. So that should do the trick. Let's hear it. Perfect. So I'm going to get rid of this second 8 bars. And what I'm going to do is, that was second 4 bars. And I'm going to go ahead and consolidate this and duplicate it. Make a loop of that. Nice. Okay, now I only want this fill to happen at the end of this 8-bar phrase. This one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the second measure here. I'm going to drag it over to the 4th measure. So that should create a loop that is 8 bars and the fill only happens at the end. Perfect. Okay, so now let's jump right into the melodic idea. I found this lush synth, 2 great words. That sounds great. I'm gonna drag and drop that guy in here. I don't need this part. And now I'm gonna create my own synth part with these 2 chords here. So let's see here. Okay, I hear what I want to do. I'm going to go right along with the drum part. I'm just going to sing what I'm trying to create here. It's okay, so that's what I'm going to make. And I'm going to actually save this other part of the synth here and keep that track muted because I'm going to make something out of this part too. So I'm going to make 2 different synth parts that work as one. But first I'm going to make this rhythm that I was just talking about. And I'm going to copy and paste. I want to go ba-da. And what I'm going to do is make that a little bit shorter so it makes a staccato. And I want it to be long short. So I'm going to make this first one a little bit longer and the second one a little bit shorter. Let's hear it. That's it. I'm going to do the same thing here. Copy, paste. I'm going to go long, short. Let's hear it. Nice. Now I want to adjust the sound of that synth a little bit, make it a little bit more of my own. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the RC Retro Color, which is a plugin everybody uses. Everybody loves it. I particularly like this plugin for the for the filtering effects that it has down here. It really does a great job, especially once you hit this cut mode, this high hard cut. It really is a great way to adjust your sound of your sample. So I'm going to turn off this other stuff. The distortion always sounds good, so I'm just going to leave that on a little bit, and let's hear where we're at. Yes, that's already the vibe that I want. I'm going to add a little of this reverb, which is one of my favorite reverbs. A little bit goes a long way. Nice. Now I still want it to be a little bit more dreamy, so I'm going to add little Echo Boy Jr. But this is definitely going to be a more of a felt than heard situation. So I'm going to bring the mix down to about 10%. Make sure that the feedback is where I don't hear the delay happening. Perfect. And I still want it to sit back a little bit further, so I'm going to go ahead with everybody's favorite Valhalla Vintage default setting. Again, bring it down to about 10%, mix knob, low cut. That sounds good. Cool, so I got that part. So now, like I said, I want to create the second half of my synth loop with this guy down here. So let's see. We want it to come in right there. Okay, so I'm just going to go there. And I'm just trying to get the rhythm of it, because I'm going to what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter this and automate it so it has this boo-wop boom sound happening. And this last measure, I want to make it go along with the fill. And so I just need to do that. Do that. Let's see. There it is. Okay, cool. So now we're going to want to do the filter effect. The quickest, best way to do that, in my opinion, is the one knob filter from Waves. This is a great plugin, very useful, very quick. It's great for automating because it's just one knob. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to zoom in a little bit tighter on this guy, and I'm going to create a little swoosh action here, almost like a Nike swoosh. Just like that. That sounds good. Let's hear it. Boom. I'm going to do the same thing in this measure. Same kind of, almost looks like a Nike swoosh. Nice. I'm going to do it on this one, give it its own filtering effect. And then what I'd like to do on this last one is I'm going to have the filter go in the opposite direction. Even more movement. Just like that. Nice. Cool. So let's hear what that sounds like all together. Nice. That sounds really cool. All right, so I'm going to go back to the drums now. And the first thing I want to do is go back to this loop and compress it a little bit. So I'm going to use the glue compressor, which is a great stock plugin here in Ableton that I use a lot. I'm going to give it a late attack and an early release. I'm going to give a good amount of compression here because I'm going to just really want it to like level out and sort of be a little more up front. Just want it to sit all the way through perfectly. Cool, so I'm just going to leave that there. And then I'm going to go back to my favorite plugin for changing up the sound, which is this RC Retro Color again. Again, I'm only going to use it really for this cutting effect down here. So I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to turn this off. Again, I usually like to leave the distortion on, but for drums, quick tip is to air distortion. It really works well on drums. So I'm going to leave that there. Again, I'm going to give it this hard cut at the top. And I'm going to cut out most of the bass stuff because I'm going to add a kick drum. Just like that. That sounds good. Now I'm going to go back to Splice where I picked out this drum loop. And I really just like the kick drum in here. So I'm going to drag it into my session. And I'm going to get rid of everything except for this first kick drum hit. I'm going to drag it up here by my other drums. And let's give it a listen. Cool. It's going to sound great. Now I want to just start placing it where I want it. There we go. Let's hear that. Cool. A quick tip right here is when I have 16th notes happening in the kick drum, especially when it's ba-boom, 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 I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this first one. And I'm going to give it this effect where the foot is hitting the kick drum pedal sort of, and it hits the first one a little bit softer, ba-boom, ba-boom, just like that. So I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to turn it down about 5 or 6 dB. There it is. Let's hear it. Nice. That sounds good. Okay, and so I'm going to finish this phrase. I'm going to duplicate it to the 2 measures. I'm going to put that there. Let's hear that. Cool. I'm going to switch up the rhythm a little bit. Boom, 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 boom. So we're just going to duplicate that. Yes, that sounds great. And I'm just going to replace this with the softer one. Cool. Cool. So now I'm just going to add one more element. And it's this clap loop that I heard. So I'm going to drag and drop that guy in here. Cool. Bring it to the top. Let's see how it sounds in my loop. Cool. So now I want that to be 16th notes. So the first thing I'm going to do actually, before I even do anything, is I'm going to bring back glue and I'm going to compress that a little bit more to alter the sound of it. Cool. And now I want that to be 16th notes, but instead of chopping it up to be 16th notes, I'm actually going to use a delay to make that happen. And then for that, I'm going to use movement. And I love movement because it's more than a delay. It's got delay, it's got panning going on, it's got all kinds of things going on. So let's hear what it sounds like with just this default setting. Sounds awesome. I'm going to bring down this dry wet. You can hear by doing that, bringing down the dry wet knob down here to about 75%, it gives it more human feel because the 16th notes on the hands are a little softer. It's got a nice feel to it. And as you can hear it tailing off there, I want to actually get rid of any chance that that's going to happen. So I'm going to freeze and flatten this track immediately so that I'm just only working with audio. And I do that often with effects. So let's hear it now. Sweet. Cool. And what I could do is by using that clap, I can create 2 different sections. I can create a verse and a pre-chorus, let's say, or a verse and a chorus by just muting this clap in this first 8 bars, 16 bars, and let's see what that sounds like.